So yeah, I was invited here to cover some of the topics that I been working on those years with Netlight, and talk in general a bit about my relationship to HR recruitment, and hopefully be able to share some ideas with you. And this talk will I also hope it to be interactive. So if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. And also we'll wrap up a bit early so I can cover more questions and thoughts from your side. So that's very welcome. And I would like to start with just saying some words about my background, so to get to know me a bit better. So also I would like to say that you're more than welcome, as it's a networking event, a mingle event, you're more than welcome to pick up your phone if you have LinkedIn and find me on LinkedIn, so we are connected for the future as well. So I love, when I have presentations, I love instant action. So feel free to grab your phones and find me for future. And a bit about my background. So I have a history actually as a musician, and studied music university, worked as a musician, jazz guitarist and singer and pianist in Stockholm. But at the age of 25, I felt that I need to discover more aspects of this world. I was very much into music. So then I turned towards HR, started studying psychology at Stockholm University, HR, and very soon came into the IT business with recruitment. That is back in March 2007. And basically that's the time when I also got to meet Fredrik for the first time. So I already then were also in the industry. So now it's 11 years later, and I'm still in the IT industry, still focused around recruitment, but of course I've seen a lot of different aspects of HR those years. First, after studies, my first job was at Google in Paris and then in Dublin, and worked with recruitment towards the EMEA region, especially focused around Europe, but also with Middle East and Africa. Interviewed people from lots of countries, and been since then very active towards more international recruitment. I came back to Stockholm in the end of 2010 and joined Netlight. Can I ask you, like, how many of you have heard about Netlight before? How many know Netlight? That's a lot. So nice to see. If I would have asked that question in the end of 2010, I would believe there would not be so many hands in the air. It was, for me, it was a very new, I had never heard about Netlight before, but also I had been working abroad in Paris. But also in the community in Stockholm, we were an underdog. We were a bit more than 100 people. I was the 4th recruiter employed, and that was 2010. Now we are more than 1,000 employees, and we are more than 40 recruiters. So it's been quite a huge expansion those years. I've been working a lot with the international recruitment, as I mentioned. So I've been down in Munich, building an organization from 2 people, and now there are 200 people. Been coaching the recruitment team down there. And then been working with like Berlin, Hamburg, Oslo, Helsinki, our new offices, and now currently we have 8 international offices at Netlight. I was working at Netlight for 4.5 years, focused on recruitment and talent management. Then took a step out because I'm very curious and and wanted to see something completely different, and then joined LinkedIn as an advisor within recruitment and employer branding. So I was coaching LinkedIn's larger clients in the Nordics, companies that invest a lot of money into LinkedIn solutions, especially focused on the recruitment tools, such as like the career page, LinkedIn Jobs, LinkedIn Recruiter, all those kind of tools. But also all the time had a focus on not only talking about LinkedIn, but the overall recruitment employer branding strategy for the organizations, and trying to give them some insights. But I was not there for very long. It was less than a year, and missed Netlight a lot. I really believe it's a very nice company to work at. There's a lot to say about that, but that I will cover a bit more here. So return to Netlight, and now been there for 2.5 years again, with recruitment, talent management, employer branding. And at the same time, I am today working as a musician. So I work 4 days a week at Netlight, Tuesday to Friday. Mondays I'm a musician in the studio, or in weddings, or in teaching jazz guitarists and pianists. So I do a bit of both, and at the same time also involved in Gigafood. How many of you heard about Gigafood? So not so many people yet, but if I raise my hand, if I ask the question in 2 years, I think there will be more hands in the air. It's an amazing small startup with 10 employees today, and working with sustainability when it comes to inspiring to a more sustainable food consumption. So catering a lot towards companies across Stockholm, a lot in the tech business, but also like the political parties, to sustainability industry, towards all kinds of industries, food catering. So that you should check out. You can do that when you check my profile ad. So that's a bit about my background. And about those topics, so I would like, and they are like really connected to each other. So the first one is from EVP to IVP. The next one, self-management, and then we have BOID, decision-making. BOID is a very Netlight word. I will come to that very soon. So that you haven't heard about before. If you start with from EVP to IVP. That's about something we talk about in Netlight, but also I heard about in a recruitment fair, talking about future trends of organizations. A very interesting fair in Berlin last autumn, talking about EVP to IVP, and that is about moving from like only talking about like we have those 3 core values in the company, and like trying to find people with those values, towards trying as much as you can to see the unique individuals and what are their values. And actually, like, companies themselves cannot have values, but people do have values. So because a company without people is nothing. So it's like the people, that's where the values are. And some different dimensions of IVP that could be, if we look in the context of recruitment, we can see more and more technology today out there to actually pinpoint, through LinkedIn, for instance, pinpoint what are the unique needs of every individual, what are their interests, and when's the right timing to talk to people, and about what should I talk about with this specific person. So not having your 3 messages that you always push towards every audience, but really tailor your message to every unique individual. So it's a lot about like connected to sales, of course. But then you need to, and please stop me if you don't understand or if I talk too fast. But okay, so you have those tailored messages which you push to certain audiences. If you then look on the inside of the company and how you run the organization, you of course then need to keep those tailored messages with you when you actually hire the person. So not only in the recruitment process, but it really needs to be aligned with what you actually can offer in the company, of course. So then you need to make sure that you bring the communication with you through the process into the employment. If we talk about Netlight, that would be, we don't have like traditional managers at Netlight, but instead we have mentorship in Netlight. So every mentor has between 3 to 5 people that you meet once a month. A meeting, a coaching session that is completely focused on personal development. And so from the recruitment process, and we find out what are the driving forces of this unique individual, we bring that in information with us into the mentorship, both to like who should be a good mentor to this individual, as well as a nice way to connect already from the first meeting you have with this individual. So to understand what are their drives and their interests. So those are some parts about the IVP, individual value proposition. And I would say, like, of course, like in a company as Netlight Consulting is it's a consulting company, so we're out helping different clients. But when we recruit people, we're not recruiting people to a specific position. You're going to be a Java developer, or you're going to be a mobile developer, or you're going to work in IT strategy. But we're recruiting potentials, like people with talent within the IT industry. And then when we have them on board, we will try to find the perfect assignment for those talents. So of course that's very connected to IVP, individual value proposition. So we employ someone and we talk about like what are your core qualities, what are your driving forces, and how can we find a way to build your to help you towards that career path. And of course that's more easy in a consulting company. But I think those are aspects that you of course can bring with you in a product company as well. And having a like close relationship with your the people that you coach, meet regularly, and focus your meetings around personal development, talking explicitly about personal development. Not only like task-oriented, so this week you did this and this, what will you do next week, but really what are your driving forces, and have a guiding conversation on that. And at Netlight, you have one mentor with personal development. You can at the same time have a coach in the recruitment team, for instance, that is focused on like your weekly like targets and what you want to achieve in the recruitment. So my mentor is a management consultant, for instance. So so those are some words about IVP. And when it comes to self-management, as I said, all those three words, three titles are very connected. So self-management goes very well in hand with IVP, because we at Netlight talk a lot already in the recruitment process about the engagement in Netlight. And Netlight would be nothing without engaged talents, like employees, that together drive the movement of Netlight, where we will be tomorrow. So and to drive something in a more like efficient way, and in a way that will engage people, I believe self-management is a really good way to drive things. That you feel as an employee empowered to drive things. That you don't need to ask for permission for everything, but you can actually just get things started and drive something yourself. And that's about self-management, which is very connected to BOID Decision-making. Because BOID stands for bird droid. It's like a future bird, a robot bird. And it's like a metaphor in Netlight for because you know birds, they usually fly in V's, and you cannot create a V yourself. You need to create it with other birds. And with a V formation, you can fly much longer distances. It's like if you would be a bird completely alone, you would not be able to travel from here to Africa, for instance. But if you're in a V formation and you switch place to be a driver or a follower, if you do that continuously and you fly in the V formation, you will be able to have a very much easier flight with when it comes to the wind and the direction. So it makes it much easier to fly together, and that's how we also drive things at Netlight. We don't drive things alone. So self-management is not about driving things alone, but it's about driving topics together with other people. But some topics you might just have an idea yourself, which you just kick off and then involve other people. In other topics, in quite many topics at Netlight, there are already a lot of people involved, and that could be like when it comes to how do we do with external conferences, or how do we do with how does the employment offer look today, like with the salaries and so on. How does it work with office transfer and whatever topics that could be. And all those topics are driven by Netlighters from very different backgrounds. And the social communities, like the football team and the Laserdome team, like all kinds of things in Netlight, they are all driven by just Netlighters, and there are no hierarchy in that. It could be whoever in the organization involved. Also, like when it comes to talking about the future Netlight offering with salaries and so on, it's like really a mix of people involved. And of course, depending on the size of the decision that you need to make, you need to involve more people and have a more structured way of like building a business case. In other topics, you might need a decision today to be able to actually move it forward. So then to like a need to find the right people to like approve something that would be inefficient. So then you need to just maybe bring in the 3 people you have closest to you and just talk with them, like, so I have this problem, how do you see this? And then together you come to some kind of conclusion, and then you can take a decision and just move forward really quickly. And involved in everything that I talk about now is the word trust. So you need to be an organization that trusts employees to be able to make decisions and make decisions where you involve each other and together come up with a nice solution. Of course, all decisions at Netlight are not perfect, but I think if you involve each other, it will at least be a better decision. So we believe a lot in synergies between people. That you have your perspective, I have my perspective, and together we can level up the problem solving. So that's another attitude we're looking for already in the recruitment process, that we look for people that see other people's perspectives. Like you see your own unique qualities, but you also know that you don't have the truth all the time. Like together we create a truth or the decisions. So that's something that we try to cover already in the recruitment, to see that people are open to listen, to get feedback, to give feedback to each other. So those were some words about BOID decision-making. And some questions that came across when you hear this.
How do you make BOID decision-making work when you're a consultant and you're working in remote?
Yes, that's a good question. So I would say a key at Netlight is our communication platform, Slack. We use at Netlight. There are some other good communication systems as well, but for Netlight, Slack works really good. Slack, we have more than 1,000 communities today. And Slack as Netlight as a whole is constantly moving every day. There will be communities formed and communities that dies, communities that grow and get smaller. So it's all like a constant movement. And if you're a consultant out at an assignment, but you have an idea, you want to bring people together, then turning to those Slack communities, that's a good start to get to know people. And if we're talking about challenges, we can connect that to that question. So I would say like Stockholm today is around 600 employees, so you cannot get to know everyone at Netlight in Stockholm. But instead you need to get to like think around which communities do I want to involve myself and really get to know those people in those communities. So it's like that's how you build relationships, and I think that's extremely important when you have such a growing organization. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about those mentors that you have. How many adepts does each mentor have, and do they meet them at the same time once a month, or is it one person once a month?
Yeah, so that is like approximately 3 to 5 mentees per mentor, but then how you meet, that is very flexible. But I would say like a recommendation is around like once a month, every 4th, every 5th week. But how things form, there are some like ideas of like best practices, or other mentors have ideas on how to run things. But it's like Netlight is very little documentation. It's more a conversation that is constantly growing. And then like this morning I had a mentor meeting with some other manager colleagues. We discussed our mentees, and they said like, yeah, we like 2 mentees just pulled together and after work, and then invited 2 other mentor groups, and that was really nice. And then I thought like, okay, maybe we can try that. Like it's constantly moving, but so foundation is more that you meet once a month basically. But yeah. Yes. Some other thoughts. I can also mention that actually I think yesterday there's a really nice podcast which I can recommend to all of you, which is it's called Agila HR-podden. It's in Swedish, Agila HR-podden, which is founded by Frida Mangen. And she's really, really inspiring person. And yesterday there was a new episode which they interviewed me for 1 hour on those topics, and some other, like a lot of other recruitment and sourcing topics, and some employer branding topics. So if you want to hear more about that, you can also find that podcast. And there are some other really nice speakers that I can recommend as well.
One question. So Netlight is a fast-growing company. What are some of the challenges for you as a talent manager with regard to the fast, rapid growing?
Yeah, I would say it's a challenge which we need to work with this every day, and things that worked when you were 200 people or was like optimal is not optimal now. And things, as I was mentioning, like how do you build connection and a sense of like belonging or relationships when you are 600 people related to like when you were 100 people or 200 people. So I think more and more we need to turn to like engaging and involving new employees in those communities that they're very interested in, and like drive engagement in those communities so that people really get to know each other. Because looking at, for instance, Netlight conferences, which are very famous, like we go to Dubai, and we go to Spain, and we go to like everywhere in the world, which is very nice when you're like 200, 300, 400 people, just meeting all your friends. But when you're more than 1,000 people, you need to restructure those conferences and like focus more and more towards those communities, and so that some people can get to know each other, but it's just like not possible to get to know 1,000 people in a conference. So I think those are some challenges that we are constantly looking at. How can we evolve and develop in that way?
I think we have time for one last question. No?
Can I ask
Yeah.
So you said that you believe in individual like values that people have, and not that much like their company values.
Mm.
So have you noticed that there are still some core values that most of your individuals still share?
Yes. So we have actually like yearly we have a theme at Netlight. Yeah, so if there are, even if we're talking more about like individual values rather than company values, are there still some values that we, on a general level, we share? And I would say yes. And we have themes every year when we are emphasizing those as, for instance, this year, but those are more on a more like level of how we would want to treat each other on a society level, like more than just like this company. We have those values. So this year we have moments. That's the theme of the year. And moments is actually about like mindfulness or awareness, being here and now, and like really seeing what moment we're in right now, which I love being here. And this is a nice moment, just being aware of where you are right now. And trying to be as aware as you can on a daily basis. And it could be values such as like last year we had be a mensch, like it's a Netlight expression, be a mensch, but it's about what I talked about earlier, about seeing your own unique abilities and ideas at the same time as you're open to listening to other people's perspectives and ideas, and like the diversity, yeah, exactly. So it's like the diversity in organizations, and really seeing that and seeing, yeah. So those could be some.
Can I ask one last one?
Yeah, sure.
So you have a lot of like Netlight lingo. You mentioned a couple of them now, and you also have quite a different way of working towards consultant. What I feel after your speech, is it difficult to get candidates to understand how you're working and how they will be working?
Usually not that difficult. We're really staying close in the recruitment process and trying to involve people and being there the whole process and into the employment as well, and really open ourselves to this to the person that we meet, and of course trying to have a lot of practical unique like examples, and trying always to tailor it to the unique individuals. What are their interests, and then describing stories from that. So I think that's when you can touch people's feelings, then you come quite far in recruitment, and so that's something that we always try to have as an ambition.